What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of Matt's Matters. I'm your host, Matt Benson, and guys, we have a lot to get into today. Since our last episode, which was about a week ago, and already, oh my gosh, so much has happened. But first of all, shout out to everybody who checked out episode 1, who liked it, viewed it, subscribed, everything like that. We appreciate it, and hope that you all keep supporting the channel. So, what a start to the year. So, obviously, the first thing we're going to talk about, well, not obviously because you guys don't know, but if you saw the trailer, you do know what we'll be talking about today, which is the nurses' strike in New York City. 15,000 nurses walked out of the hospital Monday morning at 6 a.m., and some things they're asking for are like protection in the workplace. Do not cut their healthcare benefits is another thing they're asking, because that's what some of the hospital CEOs are trying to do. So we're going to have our first guest on here in a little bit. She's actually my aunt, and she's been a NICU nurse for over 20 years. She'll get into some of that later. We're also going to touch briefly on the ICE incident in Minneapolis, Minnesota, because that is where I grew up. Basically, I lived there for like 17 years, just like, that's not even that long, but I still have many friends there. So we're going to talk about that a little bit on this episode of Matt's Matters. So first, we will welcome our guest. So the interview I was originally going to do on Zoom, but we're having some technical difficulties, so I ended up doing it on the phone, which is fine. So yeah, I just want to let you guys know it was originally supposed to be on Zoom, but we were having some technical difficulties because of my internet. So that is why the interview is on the phone. And guys, we have our first guest on the podcast, talk show, whatever you want to call it. She is my Aunt Christine Scheinman. She's been a NICU nurse for over 20 years in New York City at New York Presbyterian, and she's going to give us some insights on the strike and how everything is going and some demands that they're asking for. So we're looking forward to hearing from her. Christine, how are you today?
Hi, Matt. It's so good to talk to you. My godson and my nephew. I am good. I am just resting my legs after walking the picket line for the second day. Hoping it doesn't go on too long, but we're ready to stay out as long as it takes until we get what we deserve from hospital management.
Yeah. So, I saw that there was a nurses strike 3 years ago. Were you also part of that one?
No, that one we weren't part of. That was Mount Sinai. So it was also, they're union nurses too. So we are all part of the New York State Nurses Association, but each hospital is different in terms of negotiating contracts. So the contract is unique to each hospital. This is the first time. So Mount Sinai went out 3 years ago over basically staffing issues. And they won a lot of games with their staffing ratios, which were supposedly like one of the worst in the city, I think.
Yeah.
But now with this contract, everybody kind of negotiates at the same time. So everybody has 3 years contracts. But this time around, the hospitals all got together to talk about, to kind of negotiate together, even though each hospital system is different, and the union is all together too in trying to negotiate. They all expired December 31st. So it's kind of like these hospital systems and then the union were working, unfortunately, not together. Because I think what's really happening is the major private hospitals are trying to break the union.
So you guys have been striking this is day 2 now. You were one of 15,000 nurses who walked out on Monday morning at 6 a.m. So obviously you mentioned the staffing issues, which I can't even imagine how that is. Do you ever feel like you're overwhelmed?
Yeah, some units are better than... I personally am lucky in what I do. I don't feel overwhelmed. I've been a NICU nurse for 21 years. And as you know, you and your sister and brother are my inspiration, being born at 32 weeks.
Yes.
All those years ago. And it was the first time I stepped, and I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went on to become a nurse, and I've worked in the NICU ever since. So, but in my position now, I'm a lactation consultant. So I'm not direct bedside, but I did do that for half of my career over 9 years time. So staffing is important because especially with preemies, you want to make sure, like, it's not so much it's staffing, but it's also patient ratios, right?
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of explain to people who aren't in the hospital. But basically, if you're a patient in the hospital and you want to know where your nurse is and why she's not there to care for you, he or she, it's because they could be taking care of a whole bunch of other patients that you don't know about.
Yeah.
And in the ICUs in general, like the intensive care units, ideally it should be no more than 2 patients to 1 nurse, because they require a lot of care, and especially babies. So we're fighting for those ratios for ICU cares, but then it's also like the emergency rooms. Like, you don't want these nurses, you're in the ER, you don't want your nurse to be taking care of 10, 12 other patients, and then she can't get to you. And an emergency can happen anytime. So that's like one of the big things, because, and the patients feel it, because if you have, as a nurse, if you have less patients, it means you have more time to spend with your patients.
Yeah.
So then you as a patient realizes that your nurse is actually there to care for you and not on a computer charting all the time or trying to give meds to a bunch of different people.
So what was, like, obviously the patients, some of them probably were following, like, the news leading up to the strike. What was some of their reactions when you guys started striking on Monday?
In our hospital, I work in the children's hospital. Some of the parents were very upset.
Yeah.
They were upset that their nurses who knew their babies the best were being forced to walk out. And they understood why we had to do it. They weren't blaming the nurses.
Yeah.
They stand with the nurses. I don't know if you've seen on the news, but there's been some parents speaking out publicly in the news about the fact that they're really worried about their own kid in the hospital now, because these babies are there for a long time. It's not like they're there for a week, they're there for months. So you really get to know them, and now they're being replaced with nurses who don't know them. So they are nervous and they want their nurses back in.
Yeah, because I saw that they would fly in some nurses from, like, all over the country to kind of assist, but that's like that's even a lot of work for them, because they'll have to, like, catch up on all patient information and stuff like that.
And you don't know that nurse's level of experience either. They could say they work in a NICU, but there's different levels of NICU care. So there's like level 1, which is a very low level NICU, to level 4, which is where you get the sickest of the sick, which is where I work. So you don't know that, like I said, that nurse coming in might have only worked in a level 1 and has no idea how to take care of a baby who had open heart surgery and has,
if you're coming from, like,
lines.
if you're coming from, like, a hospital in, like, a smaller state all the way to New York City, you're obviously gonna be walking into a storm, kind of. So you guys, what is, like, the kind of emotions that you felt like on the picket line? Like, obviously this is the first time you had to do something like this. Like, how does it make you feel to be standing out there with your fellow nurses?
It's very surreal. I never thought I'd see this day. I thought we were lucky where we worked. New York Presbyterian has been a great place to work for. So, and I'm shocked that it's come to this. Many nurses were crying, walking out of the hospital that morning if they were working that night. Because it's hard to walk away from your patient and hand it off to a nurse who doesn't know that much. But I will say the mood on the line outside, as we call it, the strike line, is good. It seems very celebratory when you look at pictures and stuff, because we are just out there for a cause. We're looking for the public support to help us. We take care of the sickest people. If you're in the hospital, you're sick. You don't go to the hospital for like a cold. And we're pushing to have better staffing, like I said, and to keep our health benefits too, because that's the other major issue is that the hospitals, these three major hospitals are looking to cut our health benefits completely, like got them for over 20,000 nurses. There's
Jeez.
like 15,000
Yeah.
on strike, but there's 22,000 nurses in the union,
Yeah.
and the hospitals decide the level of health benefits that you get, and that's a big point that we're pushing for. We don't want that to change.
Yeah. So, obviously, you guys have been striking for a couple of days now, and we're talking with Christine Scheinman, New York City nurse. So you guys, so what is kind of like the reason why you guys can reach an agreement? I don't know if you're able to discuss that, but so you guys are obviously asking just for pretty basic things, from my opinion, and probably a lot of people, others' perspectives.
Yeah. It costs the hospital money to have to abide by staffing ratios, right? So if they could have, I can only use the NICU as an example, but let's say in the NICU, they want one nurse for every 3 babies. That's much less expensive than one nurse for every 2 babies, because that's that many nurses that they have to hire. And then we also want accountability if they don't meet those ratios, right? And there are these things called staffing grids too, so that if the census goes up, census meaning the total number of patients in the unit, that they will staff it and have the proper amount of nurses. And what ends up happening is, nurses will come in and make overtime, but you can only work so much, as the number of patients keep coming in. So that's a big deal. The hospital is very expensive for them. But what's been amazing is that they're willing to spend millions of dollars to prepare for this strike. These travel nurses are making $8,000 to $10,000 a week. I mean, it's crazy, the replacement nurses that are coming in. And then I saw some quote somewhere that hospitals have spent $60 million preparing for this strike. So
I think I saw that too.
Into it.
I mean,
but they could just pour it into our benefits.
Yeah, that would save so much time, and you wouldn't have to strike, obviously. So obviously, these hospital executives make. Do you feel that hospital executives kind of make too much money compared?
They make a lot.
Yeah.
It's. Why do you need to make $24 million?
Yeah.
24. That's a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, and then if you have.
And most of them make even more. Not more, but they're. I don't know. Somebody was walking around with a sign that showed the top executive pay. I mean, yes, they're running a hospital system, but $24 million.
But you guys are the ones, nurses, doctors, mainly nurses are the ones really, putting their boots on the ground and getting, down and making everything happen.
Exactly. And what I can't understand is why they don't realize that if you have happy nurses working, you're going to have happy patients.
Yeah.
Everybody wins. It's a win-win situation. And the other big thing that the union is pushing for is workplace violence language to keep nurses safe. Again, the NICU, we don't see it that often in terms of violence, but we have. I've seen it doesn't happen every day, but I've seen nurses threatened by parents. I've seen a parent of a baby punch a wall and threaten a nurse literally in front of my eyes. I mean, that wasn't recently. It was a few years ago.
Yeah.
But in places like the ER, it's a daily occurrence.
Yeah.
And they just want the hospital to just put something simple as metal detectors in every entranceway so that somebody cannot bring a knife or a weapon into the hospital.
Yeah. I mean, I read a stat that 80% of nurses during their career, however long it may be, report experiencing some sort of workplace violence, like you mentioned, like physical, verbal. Obviously, in the emergency room, there'll be a little bit different. But I mean, it sounds like you guys are asking for pretty basic things. And obviously, the longer the strike goes on, we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully, it doesn't go on too long for you guys. So
I mean, we're hoping too. And they were our management, NYP's management team was supposed to negotiate today. So today's Tuesday, day 2 of the strike. There was no negotiations yesterday. They offered to negotiate today at 5 p.m. and they canceled that.
Wow.
At around 3 o'clock this afternoon. I don't know why yet. Our union, we have a union call later tonight. Maybe they will have some reasoning why. I don't know. It's definitely concerning, but the spin that the hospital systems put out there is that the union is willing to negotiate, and our team has been at the table, and it's the hospital management that does not show up.
Yeah.
On Sunday, they were present the day before the strike. They were there for maybe a total of 1 hour.
Yep.
Out of the entire day. I mean, they let this strike happen.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So, I was following the story, like, probably for about a week now before the strike happened. And obviously, like, we were in contact with each other because I asked you, like, if you'd want to do the interview. So what was kind of like do you guys just kind of reach an agreement, like, before the strike? Like, they weren't trying to give you guys any, like, wiggle room. They're like, no, we're just standing on what our policy, and we're not going to, like, it's going to go to strike. Like, how certain were you that it was going to go to strike?
I mean, as the week went on leading up to the strike, it was becoming pretty clear that the hospital wasn't willing to negotiate, and that the three systems were kind of banded together and really weren't responding. And, it's like a big game. Like, they say the union's not responding.
Yeah.
Which we did. And our union, I have to say, NISA has been excellent in terms of their transparency with all of its members. There has been weekly calls with them every week, like Zoom meetings that you can go on where they give us updates. The negotiations are open negotiations, which means anyone can go. So I've gone over a few times, like, where you can sit in the room where the hospital management is literally sitting across the table from the union representatives, and you can sit and listen and watch what's going on.
Yeah.
And the union's been great about supporting that so that they can, they're fighting for us, and we as the member should be able to see what's going on. So it's just very disappointing that management really isn't, they're saying we're not responding, but we are. And they haven't responded
to you guys,
to ours.
Yeah.
Like,
so it just seems like they're throwing the blame on the nurses when you all are trying to negotiate with them, but they're not even willing to, like, sit down at the table with you.
Right.
So what are some ways that people can kind of support the nursing association and help you guys out and, like, just spread awareness about the situation so we can get kind of an end to this strike and everybody can go back to work and be happy with basic needs like healthcare and protection in the workplace?
Yeah, we definitely need the public support because, this has implications, for you. This is a historic strike in New York City that this many nurses walked out at once. And really, for the public to support us, I would say definitely go to the NISNA Instagram pages, NYSNA. They have information on there. You could post stuff on your own social media. If you email the hospital CEOs, there's links to that, just telling them to negotiate and settle the contract. I had shared that with you guys. There was a link from NISA about that. It literally takes 2 seconds just to fill out a quick form, and you're sending an email to a hospital CEO just urging them to negotiate and settle and get a fair contract. So those are the big things. Yeah. Just to, put it out there and show your support. And we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, especially in this day and age with so much social media and stuff like that, you guys can keep posting videos, making sure people see them. So I guess one last question for you. So obviously there's been some, like, cuts to insurance due to, like, political reasons and all that stuff. So as your hospital, have you personally, like, seen any families that, like, can't afford basic healthcare and stuff like that because of certain government policies?
I would say we have a big Medicaid population in our hospital system. So based on the location of where our particular hospital is in Washington Heights, it is an underserved area. So like I said, there's a lot big immigrant population, a lot of poverty. So a lot of the patients are on Medicaid. So I haven't seen that. I have seen some patients come in without insurance at all, which is scary, but we try to get them emergency Medicaid.
Okay.
And in terms of like lactation stuff, for me, just in my like little world, what I do, sometimes we have these moms coming in with, they want a pump for their baby. And if they have no insurance, we have to like figure out how to get them a breast pump. They can't even afford to pay like, $200 for a quality pump. So we get like donations and stuff for new pumps that we can give out to them. But I mean, it's a big issue, but you have to remember these hospitals are still making tons of money. And they're looking to cut staff to keep their profits up because of these healthcare cuts that, are occurring across the country.
I mean, I think, we have to remember that a hospital is not, a business. It's a outlet for people who need care. And I think that's what it seems like these CEOs have kind of gotten away from, and which is another, you could say that ties into why you guys are striking as well. They just look at you as like numbers, not people. So they just kind of, hopefully they can, forget about the dollar signs and like go back to basic human needs.
Yes, hopefully they will come to their senses and settle for a fair contract. That's all we're looking for.
Yeah.
And it's give and take. We know we have to give.
Yep.
We have to give stuff on our end, and, they need to do the same. It's a give and take thing, and you just have to be willing to sit at the table and get the work done. And hopefully they will see the light in the next day or so as they see the pressure as the days go on, and, their staff, they're not fully staffed. They're losing money still, even as they're spending all this money, because the hospital isn't full. They emptied out a lot to prepare for this. So I don't think so. Just thank you so much. I really appreciate you thinking of us and asking us. I know you're not down in New York anymore. You're
I'm supporting from far away.
It's okay, because it's a nationwide story. It's a big deal.
Yeah, and obviously with everything else going on, it's kind of like taking a second hand behind.
I know. There's a lot of unrest in this
crazy
country. And,
crazy start to the year.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Christine, we're going to wish you luck and it's fighting for your basic things that all people should have in the workplace: health insurance, safety, because, I would want to be safe when I go to work. I would want to feel safe and protected by my employers. So good luck out there on the picket lines, and just keep voicing your guys' needs, and don't give up, and people are out there supporting you guys. And thanks again for coming on with me. I appreciate it, and I hope that your strike ends sooner than later.
Thanks, Matt. Me too. It was great talking to you.
Yep.
We'll talk soon, okay?
Alrighty. Take care.
All right. Take care. Love you.
Love you too.
Bye.
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 Alright, guys. That was my aunt and godmother, Christine. Great information there. I mean, you heard it. They're just fighting for things like protection in the workplace, human rights, guys. I mean, health insurance is important for anybody. I mean, you heard her talk about how sometimes moms come in the hospital, and for the hospital to say that they want to cut the nurses' health care it's a little ridiculous. So I hope that we continue to wish them luck. I'm going to put some info on how you can support them in the description of this video. Hopefully their strike ends sooner than later, of course, and any way you can support them is much appreciated, because when you go to the hospital, you want your nurses to be happy, and because they want to help you guys. The nurses, they're great people. I know plenty of nurses, people who want to become nurses, and they deserve to be protected in the workplace, just like anybody else who has a job deserves to be protected in the workplace. So these CEOs just need to stop worrying about their cha-ching dollar signs and start worrying about the nurses who allow them to even run the hospital. The ICE incident in Minneapolis, which happened earlier this week, or last week, I believe, which was just very sad. So, obviously, if you've been following the news, you know that ICE shot and killed a woman who was trying to run over the ICE agent, which is what the claims made. But we're not gonna get too political about this, guys, because we don't want the to get the government to come for us. But I've already seen so many videos like from different streamers that I watch and different news outlets, and there's honestly no justifying this, saying like, oh well, she should have just listened to the law enforcement and she would have been fine. Which, I mean, if you see some of the stories that these agents are capable of, you would not be saying that. So we're gonna touch on this briefly. There's been a lot of protests recently in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which I was gonna have a guest on, but we're just gonna stick with one guest for each week. So let's watch this.
Ever since I was a little kid and I learned about World War II, I asked myself, what side would I be on? It's happening again, and I want to be on the right side. This is Minnesota. Our slogan is Minnesota Nice. Everybody's welcome here. Say her name! Say her name!
I've lived in Minnesota my entire life, and what is happening now in this country is absolutely unacceptable. It is unacceptable that our government comes in and takes people off the streets, puts them into prisons in other countries where they've never been.
All right, so that's, I mean, if you live under a rock, you do not know these things. That ICE, in my opinion, is just out of control. I know South Park has made fun of them a couple times. South Park, you gotta love South Park, guys. They just put light on situation. But this is a very serious situation. A lot of people have been killed in captivity this year, or I guess last year, which is just a little bit concerning. I mean, a lot of these people are legal citizens too. Like, it's not just, I mean, I personally think that immigration is good for the country. I wrote a paper on immigration and why it's actually good for the economy, not bad, because the immigrants do a lot of jobs that some people don't want to do. So here is this article that I found earlier, which is very not good. So officials and investigative reporting indicated that 2025 was the deadliest year for people in U.S. immigration and customs enforcement ICE custody in roughly 2 decades, with mainstream outlets and advocates reporting a total of over 30 deaths, most concretely tallied as 32 by the Guardian's timeline, while ICE public list and some media accounts vary depending on whether hospital transfers and disputed cases are included. So this is the number that they allow us to see. We don't really know the true number, but we're not going to focus on that too much. We're just going to focus on people who are doing good. Things that you do if you are encountered by an ICE agent. Obviously, like if they're I saw a video where they just broke through someone's car window and just like ripped them out of your vehicle. Your car is like your house. Someone can't just, a police officer, ICE agent, whatever, they can't just come into your car. They have to have a warrant to physically arrest you. Like, a car is your personal property, but, so that is something that we should all know. And, they can't just, I just don't like how they're just nabbing people off the streets. And just like, you citizens, guys, U.S. citizens, if U.S. citizens are being taken away, nobody's safe. Nobody's safe, and I don't know what the heck is going on with this current state of the world that we're living in. It's just, it's just crazy. So, protest, guys, share information. Honestly, for all my friends in Minneapolis, I've been seeing your guys' videos and protesting. Love to see it. Keep it up. This was obviously a more serious episode of Matt's Matters, but sometimes the things that are dark and not making us uncomfortable are things that matter. And it's up to us to, I'd say I'd like to use my platform to like spread information about certain situations that some people might not like to talk about. So, yeah, that's kind of why we touched on 2 serious topics today on this episode of Matt's Matters, which will be out soon. And we appreciate you guys always for watching. Stay safe out there, everybody. Remember to support your nurses, know your rights, and love and peace always. And this has been another edition of Matt's Matters with me, Matt Benson. Love and peace always.